Welcome to another episode of It's a Learning Life for Real. I'm Tamika and thank you for joining me. Today we're talking about self-care and I'm going to be sharing with you 5 tips that you can use to totally take charge of your self-care. So what exactly are we talking about when we talk about self-care? Without using the dictionary and just going to the simplest definition of self-care, self-care is taking care of yourself. And when we talk about yourself, we're talking about your whole self, taking care of yourself spiritually, physically, emotionally, financially, all the different aspects of what constitutes your whole self. That's what we're talking about when we talk about self-care. And it's called self-care for a reason. It begins with you, and guess who is responsible? You, because it's self-care. So the first myth that people have about self-care is that they don't have time for it. Truth of the matter is, we all have time for self-care. If you do not take the time to recognize your needs and your emotions, and listen to your body, you inevitably are going to get to a place where you will no longer be able to function and or show up in the ways that best reflect you. Second myth is that only women need it. The truth of the matter is, both men and women need to practice self-care. Both men and women need to eat well, need to sleep, need to be in touch with their emotions and their needs, and to be able to name them and articulate them and get the support they need so that they can show up as the best version of themselves. The other thing about self-care, which is a myth, is that it's expensive. Self-care does not have to be expensive. It could include you taking the time to go to bed on time or taking a walk. It could be eating well. It could be sleeping. Whatever it is, self-care looks different from all of us, looks different for all of us. But it's important that you think through what it is that you can do, what you have the resources to do. Just another myth about self-care is that self-care is just relaxing. Self-care is more than just relaxing. It's not just taking the time you need at the end of the day, the quiet time. Self-care could be managing your debt. The fact of the matter is, debt can be stressful. So if you become a little bit more conscious about how it is that you spend your money by budgeting, that's a form of practicing. So forgiving yourself when you mess up is a way of practicing self-care. Learning to respond and not react when things happen is another way that you can practice self-care. Let's talk about the truth of self-care. And the first truth is that self-care is for everyone. The other thing is, self-care isn't selfish. When you set aside time to intentionally take care of yourself, you are not robbing your children, robbing your partner, robbing your husband. You're not robbing anybody. You're simply making a conscious decision to prioritize and acknowledge what your needs might be in that moment, to kind of check in with yourself to say, Tamika, how am I feeling right now? And then if it is that you can recognize what your emotions are, then it's thinking about, okay, if I'm not feeling so hot, what can I do to feel better? Who can I call and talk to? The truth is that self-care is both urgent and important. A lot of times we know that it's important, but because we don't consider it urgent, there's not a fire burning down, there's nobody calling us now, the phone isn't ringing, we procrastinate and we don't get around to it. So I want you to treat self-care as both urgent and important, because the choices you make in terms of how you care for your body, how you care for yourself, they are going to improve your quality of life. They are going to contribute or undermine your mental health. And they certainly are going to influence how you show up in the world. So the first tip is to improve your sleep hygiene. What do I mean by that? Most of us have really bad sleep hygiene. And when we talk about bad sleep hygiene, we're talking about the fact that most of us are operating on less than 6 hours of sleep per day. Yes, some of us sleep on average for 6 hours, myself included, but we actually need a good 7 or 8 hours of sleep per day, every night, to be functional. And if it is that we are able to set a structure, a set bedtime for going to bed, that is going to help us. The second tip I have for us is to move your body. Believe it or not, our bodies were not intended for us to sit 8 to 12 hours per day, whether at a desk or at a workstation with our eyes fixed to a screen, or whatever it is that you do when it is that you're sitting down for long periods of time doing your job. Your body, our bodies were not meant for that. Our bodies were meant to move. Blinking helps to moisturize our eyes. So yes, our bodies, even our eyes, were meant not to stare at screens for long periods of time without blinking. So here I am blinking. So yes, you want to move your body. So this is taking breaks, stretching at your desk, moving away from the desk. The third tip is to nurture your bodies. Yes, our bodies are a temple. We are what we eat. You've all heard those phrases before, and they are really, really important as a part of self-care. And come to think of it, lifestyle diseases actually kill more people every single year than cancer and HIV does. So when we talk about lifestyle diseases, we're talking about diseases such as diabetes and hypertension. And the truth of the matter is diabetes, except for if it's hereditary, or hypertension, these are lifestyle diseases that we develop as a function of how it is that we eat. So one of the things that you want to do as a part of improving your self-care is to reduce, if not even eliminate, processed food. Sugar, it's your enemy. It's not your friend. So you want to avoid sugar. You want to ensure that you reduce the amount of juice or drink intake you take for a particular day. Another thing you want to pay attention to is you want to eliminate, if not reduce, fast foods. Your intake of that, simply because you do not know how they produce the foods, and as best as possible, even if it is that you're going to be eating out, pay attention to where it is that you eat and what it is that you're consuming. And importantly, eat your fruits and veggies. Reduce the meat. Yes, but just pay attention to what you eat. This is not like I'm not a nutritionist, so I can't give you the best food advice, but just pay attention to what it is you eat. And tip 4 is perhaps my favorite, and it's make time for you. And the reason I'm saying that tip 4 is my favorite is that over the course of the pandemic, if at no other point, I have learned the value of taking care of myself. I have learned the value of ensuring that I am not dry so I can pour out. I'm a single mom, and the truth of the matter is I run a one-woman ship, so I am juggling multiple roles at any one time. And I'm also somebody who a lot of my friends and family accuse of just always going, always doing something and the rest of it. And throughout the pandemic, I think it was 2021, I came to a place where I realized that I needed to do some things differently. And self-care for me, taking time for me, meant for the first time that I was going to find a therapist, because I felt like I needed to have an opportunity just to process my thoughts aloud in the comfort and confidence of a trusted professional. And so find what it is that helps you. It could be prayer, setting aside a particular time in the day where you are just going to focus on your spiritual life. You are going to pray, you're going to meditate, whatever it is that quiet time looks like for you. Fifth tip that I'm going to share for how it is that you can improve your self-care is to manage your stress. And this one is so huge because the levels of stress across the world, people everywhere are feeling more stressed than they've ever felt at any other point of history or in their lives. And I mean, you don't have to wonder why people are so stressed today. I mean, we're now in the third year of a pandemic. We have seen loss, we have seen or experienced changes, unprecedented and rapid changes at a rate that we've never seen before. And there is still a high sense of uncertainty in terms of what's going to happen by the end of the year or a couple of months from now. And of course, work, how it is that you have to juggle whether working from home or going into the office, or whether you're supervising your kids at school, at home. I mean, whatever it is, there are enough reasons why people are stressed. So one of the first things that you're gonna have to do in managing your stress is to let go. Let go of the fact that you cannot control the world around you. The only thing you really can control is yourself. You're going to have to accept that, and as you accept that, you're going to also have to try to accept ambiguity. The other part of the managing your stress is also practicing self-compassion. It's giving yourself grace. It's recognizing that you may not be doing all the things that you set out to do, or you might not be executing your different roles the way you want because you're just overwhelmed, or you're just a lot of things coming at you. And it's giving yourself grace when it is that you mess up. It's giving other people's grace as well. It's forgiving yourself. So those are my 5 top tips that I think could help you to improve your self-care. If you have other tips that you've been using, please share them in the comments below. I'd love to hear from you. And if you have not yet hit the like button, please hit like and subscribe. Hit the subscribe button below so you don't miss another video when I upload. Thank you for watching, and until next time, remember, it's a learning life for real.